finally able to enter the ship. He was peeping from a hole. It was too small. Hello, my name is ACEX. Today, I will deliver you a story entitled The Origin of Danau Lipan. Once upon a time, in East Kalimantan, there was a kingdom in Muara Kaman. The kingdom was led by Queen Aji Bidara Putih. She was a very beautiful queen. She was also wise, kind, and loving to her people. The queen was single. Many kings and princes from other kingdoms have tried to propose her. However, she was still not interested in getting married. She only wanted to take care of her people. Though the queen has rejected proposals from many rich men, the proposals kept on coming to her. Many kings and princes did not give up. One of them was a prince from China. The Chinese prince came with a big ship. He brought his soldiers and also a lot of jewelries. The prince wanted to give the jewelries as wedding proposal. When the ship arrived at Muara Kaman, the Chinese prince asked a messenger to meet the queen. The messenger then told the queen about the wedding proposal. "Before I accept the proposal, please tell me about your prince," asked the queen. "He's a very rich man and also very handsome, your majesty." "Alright then, tell your prince I need time to think," said the queen. The queen thought it was time for her to get married. She felt she was old enough. That was why she did not reject the proposal immediately. However, she did not want to choose the wrong husband. She asked one soldier to secretly go to the ship. The queen asked the soldier to describe her how the Chinese prince looked like. The soldier was finally able to enter the ship. He was peeping from a hole. He saw the prince was eating. But the soldier could not see the prince clearly. The hole was too small. But he could hear how the prince ate. The prince was eating using chopsticks. He made strange sounds when he was eating. The soldier was so scared. He never heard that sound before. He thought the prince was not a real human. The soldier thought he was a ghost. When he arrived back at palace, the soldier immediately reported to the queen. He told the queen about the strange sounds. "Maybe it's not a human, your majesty. Maybe it's a ghost," said the soldier. At first, the queen did not believe him. But the soldier was very sure with what he heard. The queen then decided to refuse the wedding proposal. And that made the Chinese prince got very angry. He asked his soldiers to attack Muara Kaman's kingdom. The Chinese soldiers were able to beat Muara Kaman soldiers. Queen Aji Bidara Putih was cornered in the palace. She then prayed to God. Suddenly, she heard a voice. The voice asked her to chew betel, then throw the betel to the Chinese soldiers. Amazingly, the beetle changed into giant centipedes and attacked them. The Chinese soldiers died, and from the ground appeared a lake. People of Muara Kaman then named it as Danau Lipan or Centipede Lake. And sometimes, people could find pieces of antique Chinese porcelain in that lake. Well, that's all from me today. Thank you!
So they packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to his awal aja udah bilang to her grandmother. The wolf les aduh udah males pada. Before the wolf gobbled her up. Aduh, kok gitu sih? Aduh. The wolf a little bit out of breath. But grandmother, what big eyes you have, said Little Red Riding Hood.
The better to hear you with, my dear.
Tadi?
Eyes.
Eyes ya? Astaga. Hello everyone, my name is Magdalena Ariadna Sinaga, and today I would like to tell you a story entitled Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, she wore a red riding cloak, so everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go to visit her grandmother. "That's a good idea," her mother said. So they packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. Then, the little girl put on her red cloak and kissed her mother goodbye. "Remember, go straight to Grandma's house. Don't dawdle along the way, and please don't talk to strangers. The woods are dangerous," her mother cautioned.
Don't worry, Mommy. I'll be careful,
she replied. But when Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the woods, she forgot her promise to her mother. She picked a few, watched the butterflies flit about for a while, listened to the frogs croaking, and picked a few more. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer day so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching out of the forest behind her. Suddenly, a wolf appeared beside her.
What are you doing out here, little girl?
The wolf asked in a voice as friendly as he could muster.
I'm on my way to visit my grandmother, who lives through the forest near the brook,
she replied. Then she realized how late she was and quickly excused herself, rushing down the path to her grandmother's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. The wolf, a little out of breath from running, arrived at Grandma's and knocked lightly on the door. Knock, knock.
Oh, thank goodness, dear. Come in, come in. I was worried sick that something had happened to you in the forest,
said Grandma, thinking that the knock was her granddaughter. The wolf let himself in. Poor Granny didn't have time to say another word before the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf let out a satisfied burp and then poked through Granny's wardrobe to find a nightgown that he liked. He added a frilly sleeping cap and, for good measure, dabbed some of Granny's perfume behind his pointy ears. A few minutes later, Little Red Riding Hood arrived and knocked on the door. Knock, knock. The wolf jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his nose.
Who is it?
He called in a cackly voice.
It's me, Grandma, Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, how lovely! Do come in, my dear,
crowed the wolf. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she could scarcely recognize her grandmother.
Grandmother, your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter?
She asked.
Oh, I just have touch of a cold,
squeaked the wolf.
But grandmother, what big ears you have,
said the little girl as she edged closer to the bed.
The better to hear you with, my dear,
replied the wolf.
But grandmother, what big eyes you have,
said Little Red Riding Hood.
The better to see you with, my dear,
replied the wolf.
But grandmother, what big teeth you have,
said Little Red Riding Hood, her voice quivering slightly.
The better to eat you with, my dear,
roared the wolf, and he leaped off the bed and began to chase the little girl. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realized that the person in the bed wasn't her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran out of the cottage and shouting, "Help! Wolf! Help! Wolf!" A woodsman who was chopping logs nearby heard her cry and ran quickly to save her. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out the poor grandmother, who was a bit frazzled by the whole experience, but still in one piece. "Oh, Grandma, I was so scared," sobbed Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll never speak to strangers or rattle in the forest again." Then the woodsman knocked out the wolf and carried him deep into the forest, where he wouldn't bother people any longer. Finally, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother went back to the cottage, and they had a nice lunch and a long chat. Well, that's the end of my story. Thank you very much for listening. See you!